Hello, everyone. Good morning. Buenos días a todos. Welcome to the 33rd teleconference of the WMO Coordination Group on Satellite Data Requirements for Regional Associations 3 and 4. Thank you very much for joining the call today, and it's good to see you again. I'm Diego Souza from NPay, focal point on SDR for RA-III, and we also have with us our colleague, Marcial Garbanzo from the University of Costa Rica, focal point on SDR for RA-IV. Welcome, Marcial.
Thank you so much, Diego. Muchas gracias. Gracias a todos los participantes. Thank you for everybody being here. And we have a very packed meeting, so we should get started as soon as possible with all the topics. So thank you so much, and let's get ahead and start.
All right, this is our first teleconference of this year. We've had other teleconferences with subgroups like the Data Processing and Visualization Task Force that we will mention later, but this is the first one with the main SDR group. So we have, as Marcial said, many topics to discuss today. And if you missed the previous teleconferences, you may find all the content from the past 32 calls and the 5 face-to-face meetings at the SDR group's webpage with all the recordings, minutes, all the presentations. And you may also find supporting documents, actions, and other relevant information. And this is the agenda for today's call. We will welcome the participants and introduce Natalia Donoho as the new head of the WMO Space Systems and Utilization Division. Then we will have some quick updates from the SDR co-chairs. Then we'll have some updates from the 19th World Meteorological Congress, which took place between May 22 and June 2. And our colleagues will present some initiatives like the very important Early Warning for All and the WMO position paper on the World Radiocommunication Conference 2023 agenda. We will also have some updates on the Latin America Meteorological Satellite Initiative introduced by the WMO Regional Office for the Americas during our 5th meeting in Madison and also mentioned during our last teleconference. And we will finish with data requirements and updates from members and updates on recent and upcoming regional capacity building activities. So, all right, let's begin introducing the participants of this teleconference, starting with Natalia Donoho, appointed as head of the WMO Space Systems and Utilization Division since April. Probably most members of the SDR group have interacted a lot with Nat in the past when she was the GeoNetcast Americas program manager and also when she worked as the senior international relations specialist at NOAA. So welcome, Nat, and great to have you here. Congratulations for your new position and thank you for joining the call today.
Thank you so much, Diego. Buenos dias, buen dia. I really welcome you all and thank you so much for joining today. Literally, really excited to see you all in my new role, and I look forward to work with you on user requirements in Latin America, Caribbean, and overall regions 3 and 4. We have a lot of things coming, interesting things, and Diego mentioned the Congress came up with really good initiatives of given the green light. So I look forward working with you in my new role. And again, wishing you good luck with meetings and hopefully we'll meet in person sometimes again. So thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Nat. And we'll be looking forward to keep this fruitful regional collaboration and keep engaging the SDR group in different initiatives and provide the regional perspectives from RA-III and 4. Thank you and welcome. And now let's introduce the other participants. We have with us our colleague Barney Connell. Hi, Barney. Can you hear us?
Yes. Good morning. Let's see. I was trying to see if I could turn on my camera. Yes, I'm from CERA at Colorado State University in the U.S., where I'm an affiliate of NOAA. And I'm also the VLab co-chair that we'll be hearing a little bit more about today. So welcome.
Good morning. Thank you, Bernie. Camilo Barahona de Chile. Hola, Camilo. Hello, Camilo. Can you hear us? Muchas gracias por participar. Alec Casey from Environment Canada. Hi, Alec. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. My name's Alec Casey. I'm from the Meteorological Service of Canada, part of Environment and Climate Change Canada. I'm here today on behalf of my manager, Matt Arquette, who's our member for SDR, and I'm also a member of the WMO expert team on radio frequency coordination, and will be presenting under the WMO Congress updates today. Nice meeting all of you.
Thank you, Alec. Crystal Rosales. Welcome, Crystal. Can you hear us? Crystal? Okay, let's move on. Diana Rodriguez from Argentina. Hola, Diana. Hello, Diana.
Hola, hello everyone. Congratulations, Natalia, for the new position. My name is Diana Rodriguez, and I work on the National Meteorological Service since 1999. 89 in the remote sensing area. I'm a meteorologist, and I have a degree in environmental sciences. I am a member of the SDR group since 2019. Also, I'm a focal point of the COVE B-Lab from Argentina.
Muchas gracias, Diana. Thank you. Edison Cruz from Inami, Ecuador. Hola, Edison. Welcome.
Hola a todos, un abrazo. Welcome, Natalia. It's nice to see you again, and congratulations for new positions. Well, I am sure we'll have a nice meeting today, and I'm grateful to see you, to all you again, unless through remote.
Great, thank you, Edson. Gracias. Eric from WMO. Hi, Eric. Welcome, and thanks for joining us.
Buenos dias, and thank you for the invitation, and good day to everyone. So my name is Eric Alex. I'm from more representative of expert team radio frequency coordination chair today, just in case some specific questions are raised during the presentation of Alec. So thanks again for the invitation.
Thank you, Eric. Erica Allis. Welcome, Erica. Thank you for joining.
Thank you so much. Yes, my name is Erica Allis. I work at WMO in the Secretariat and the Disaster Risk Reduction and Public Services branch, and I'll be giving an update on early warnings for all.
Great, thank you. Gabriela Gomez from La Note, Yunnan, Mexico. Hola, Gabi. Welcome.
Good morning, everybody, and congratulations, Natalia. I am at the National Autonomous University of Mexico at the Geography Institute, and more specific at the National Laboratory for Earth Observation. Good morning.
Gracias, Gaby.
Good morning. Muchas gracias. Ian Everick from NOAA. Hi, Ian. Welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for the invitation, Diego. I'm the HRID MWIN program manager. I'm just here to listen. I'm interested in what's happening internationally. So thanks again.
Thank you. John Cornicelli, the GeoNetcast Americas program manager. Hi, John. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Thank you again for the invite, Diego. I am the new program manager for GeoNetcast Americas. I took over from Seth, from Ian, who took over from Seth, who took over from Natalia. So congratulations, Natalia. And if you do need an update later on, Diego, just give me a yell.
Okay. Thank you. Jorge Chira from Senami, Peru. Hola, Jorge. Welcome.
No te escuchamos, Jorge.
Sorry. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thanks for your kind invitation. So I'm Jorge Chira from working at the National Meteorology and Hydrology Service of Peru. So I work at Data and Network Observation Directorate. So I'm happy to be here. Congratulations, Natalia. And I am very expecting to know more about this news that you are presenting. Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Thank you. We also have with us Kenneth Kerr, representing the British Caribbean territories. Welcome, Kenneth. Thank you for joining.
Hi, thank you. Good day, colleagues. It's a pleasure to be here again. Diego, most of the last meetings have clashed with other meetings that I have had, and I had to make a choice. So sorry about that, but I'm glad to be here. Congrats, Natalia, and I look forward to today's proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenneth. And Maria Paula Hoboshian from Argentina. Welcome, Paula. Can you hear us?
Hello, good morning. Do you hear me well?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm Maria Paula Bouchian from the National Meteorological Service. I work at the same area as Diana, at the Remote Sensing Division of the National Meteorological Service, and mainly with the satellite products for the estimation and nowcasting of precipitation systems. And at this moment, I am the regional coordinator for the DBNet project. So, thank you.
Thank you, Paula. We also have Martin Rugna. Welcome, Martin.
Hola, Diego. Hello, everyone. My name is Martin, and I'm with the National Meteorological Service, also with Maria Paula and Diana, and working with the satellite data.
Thank you. We also have Marianne Kutney. Welcome, Marianne. Can you hear us?
I can, thank you. And I apologize that my camera is not working today, but I'm the Deputy Director of International Affairs for NOAA's Satellite Service, and I am attending on behalf of Oriana Vilar, who will be joining our office in about 2 weeks to backfill behind Natalia. As you know, Natalia has got her new position. We are very happy for her, and she has left very big shoes to fill. And I won't say that Oriana is replacing Natalia because Natalia is irreplaceable, but we are very much looking forward to having her join us in a couple of weeks, and she will be joining you in the future meetings. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the updates. And our colleague, Sherrie Morris. Hi, Sherrie. Welcome, and thank you for joining.
Hello, I'm Sherrie Morris. I work with the GEO program, more specifically the GOES-R user engagement, and I, among other tasks, coordinate training within WMO Region 3 and Region 4.
Thank you very much. And I think we have presented everyone.
Just Crystal.
Crystal, can you hear us now? Can you activate your microphone?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Sorry, I was having a bit of technical issues.
All
right, my name is Crystal Rosales, and I'm an operational forecaster here at the National Met Service of Belize. And we use satellites every day, so I'm looking forward to learning as much as I could.
Thank you, Crystal. Great to have Belize joining us. Yes, excellent. Thank you very much. And we have some apologies from Daniel Villa, Technical Coordinator of Infrastructure for RA-III. He is attending another meeting today and will not be able to join us. And moving on, our first brief today will be the SDR updates presented by the co-chairs, and this will be very quick. First, we have some updates from the RA-IV Regional Conference and parallel events, which took place in Jamaica between February 6 and 9. And Marcial will present a summary what have been discussed there. Go ahead, Marcial.
Yes, thanks. This should probably be also in Spanish. I'm sorry for not including those. But just quickly, we have mainly pending activities for this year, which is assessing the internet and technical staff, because in the SDR, we have identified that we have problems with the technical trainings in the region and also accessing the data through the internet. So if you have an antenna, a GeoNetcast or a GRB, it's fairly easy to access the information, but there is some internet limitation, so we're assessing it. mainly in the lights of the GeoXO satellite, because the entire data set is going to be on the internet. So we're going to need better communication to access it properly. Also, the coordination of the first hackathon. This is still in planning, but we need to have a hackathon in our region 3 and 4. Hopefully this year, at the end of this year or beginning of next year. And technical visits, this was already presented to the WMO. We need to have better coordination of technical visits. That means if someone has a problem and some other member can solve it, instead of trying to do it slowly and painfully, to collaborate, like concrete collaborations to solve our problems among ourselves. And the formal invitation to PRs to nominate more participants. As we can see in this call, we need more people from other countries to represent better the region. We have challenges, like we're still using the old channels, and we see this all the time. Diego and I see people requesting old channels, legacy channels, instead of using the RGBs and the derived products that we have, which can be way better, even the experimental ones, as Sira introduced the new ones that you can see in the Slider website and others. Training in professional and technical areas of SDR, we still need to do this. We need to get better at it, because we are approaching new generation of satellites with GeoXO and NEON, and we haven't still completed like the entire training for the old generation of satellites. So we need to get better at this. And also, there's no resource allocated yet for these technical visits that I just mentioned. And on the right side, we have the priorities, which is continue supporting the access of the GOSR and LEO satellites. And we're making improvements in this area with EUMETSAT. We're going to have better and more tailored trainings for our regions. Also participate of the GeoXO planning. Keep this group active. We have these teleconferences, but we're also going to have a hackathon and face-to-face meetings, and participate of regional and global initiatives, foster the SDR goals. And I think those are the updates from the regional meeting that we had in Jamaica.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Marcial. A lot of activities to coordinate in the near future, and challenges to address. And we will be discussing these priorities and actions during our future teleconferences and meetings. Let's move on. We also would like to give you some updates regarding the regional data processing and visualization task force that we have established during our last meeting in Madison. In October, we had our first meeting of this task force, and just as a reminder, the objective of this group is to facilitate the generation and utilization of satellite products by joining efforts from developers from different countries, right? And also encourage the usage and distribution of open source solutions and open source tools. And in this first meeting, members presented how they are processing and visualizing satellite data. And recently this year, we had a couple of virtual meetings with this group. In the second teleconference in February, we had 20 participants from 10 countries, and our colleagues from Brazil and Chile presented how they are developing their visualization solutions using only open source tools, and share the details of how the other members may try to use similar technologies in their institutions. Then a month later, in March 16, we had the third telecon, and our colleagues from the Swedish Meteorological and Hydrological Institute presented PyStro, SatPy, which is an open source framework to process and visualize satellite data. And we also have discussed how to process the GLM gridded products, which surprisingly are not being processed and visualized by most members. So we have presented how they can generate these products. And all the resources related to this task force can be accessed in the DPVs tab in the SDR Group's webpage. And on this last meeting, we had 18 participants from 11 countries. So right now, we have a very nice group of regional developers that are constantly sharing their experiences, the best practices, the latest technologies, and everything related to satellite visualization, which was the goal of creating this group. And now we can conduct the next meetings of this task force in line with the goals of the initiatives that the SDR group is engaged, like, for example, the Early Warnings for All initiative that we are going to see in a few minutes. So this is a very nice advancement. And talking about initiatives, we have created a slide deck, and we have shared this slide deck with you last week with a summary of all the initiatives that the SDR group is engaged somehow. And the objective of these summaries is to make each initiative more understandable to the group members and clarify how the SDR community can benefit from and collaborate to each of these initiatives. And you may access these slides in the group's webpage under the Supporting Documents tab. And for each initiative, you see some key aspects being clarified. What it is, why it is important, what are the main points of contact, where can you find more information, when the interaction between the SDR group and this initiative happened, how this initiative benefits us, and how you may collaborate with this initiative. And here we have an example for the Early Warnings for All initiative and the WMO position on the WRC 23 agenda, which are the initiatives we are going to see today presented by our colleagues, right? And if you have any comments or suggestions regarding these slides, please let us know. Okay, now let's see some updates from the 19th World Meteorological Congress, starting with the Early Warnings for All initiative presented by Erica Allis. For both presentations, we will have 15 minutes for the brief and 5 minutes for questions. So if you have any questions during the presentation, you may send your questions in the chat box, and we will have some minutes for answer. Now I will hand it over to Erica from WMO. Go ahead, Erica. You may share your screen. Let me stop sharing mine.
Great, thank you. Colleagues, do you see my screen?
Yes, but
yes, we do.
You're seeing the presenter mode.
Oh,
not
okay.
The,
Let me see if I can swap. There we go. How's that?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Good.
Okay,
Go ahead.
perfect.
Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Diego, and colleagues. Thank you for the invitation to join you today. I really appreciate the opportunity to meet with this group and discuss and share with you some of the latest activities and elements of the Early Warnings for All initiative. I already introduced myself, so I won't spend any time with that, but I did just want to provide a very brief recap in terms of the initiative for any of you that might not be familiar with it. And I'll also be providing maybe not just specifically the outcomes of Congress, but a little bit broader update because a lot is actually happening. So of course the initiative came in 2022 during World Meteorological Day. The UN Secretary General Antonio Gutierrez actually announced this initiative and requested that WMO lead this new initiative to really ensure every person on Earth is protected by early warning systems within 5 years. We really took this on and sought to work with partners and countries collaboratively to develop an executive action plan, which we launched at COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh last year. And this executive action plan is available on the WMO website. And it's looking at it basically takes a very high level approach to addressing how some of the gaps, the persistent gaps that we're seeing globally in early warning systems. And we have since, and I'll go into a little bit of detail on this, we've since kind of provided more of an updated plan implementation strategy, especially for Pillar 2. But I'll speak more about that in a few moments. I think it's just important to note that really we have a lot of visibility and political support. And this is not anything new. We're all working on this every day. But it's nice to have kind of the commitment of high levels of leadership within countries to really promote some of the work that we're already doing. And I did just want to mention that really the executive action plan itself really built from a lot of the work that was ongoing in the technical commissions. So in particular, we definitely leveraged the multi-hazard early warning systems framework and a number of other initiatives. So a lot of the knowledge of the technical commissions are already in the executive action plan. But we worked with a constellation of partners because really it's not just WMO's mandate alone to kind of deliver on an effective early warnings for all initiative. So we've organized the implementation plan and kind of the rollout strategy around the 4 pillars of multi-hazard early warning systems. So we have pillar 1, disaster risk knowledge, pillar 2, detection, observations, monitoring, analysis, forecasting of hazards. I should note that pillar 1 is being led by UNDRR, pillar 2 is by WMO, and pillar 3, warning dissemination and communication, is being led by ITU, and the 4th pillar, preparedness and response, is being led by IFRC. As I mentioned, this has really been an interagency, multi-stakeholder consultation in developing the executive action plan and in going forward into the implementation of the Early Warnings for All initiative. And so this is just a few of the partners that we have on board. Many more are coming on every day, and it's there's a lot going on. I just wanted to provide, just in terms of the global level, not so much related to Congress. So back in March, Selwyn Hart, who is basically the head of the climate action team, he provided a virtual informal update to a number of countries on the Early Warnings for All initiative. And the 18th of March, a letter went out to an initial tranche of countries that were kind of working in the rollout phase of the initiative. It went out to the head of the president, or the main focal point for the country for the United Nations, and it was sent by Gutierrez's office. And on the 21st of March, there was the first advisory panel meeting, which is essentially a number of different UN organizations. And they announced at that time the initial countries. So you can see there are a number of initial countries that we're focusing in Latin America and the Caribbean. So Guyana, Haiti, Barbados, Antigua, Barbuda, Guatemala, and Ecuador. So happy to have your engagement and support in the rollout in those countries. We had a number of updates to the Geneva and New York missions, and just on the initiative and the progress. And just wanted to note that we're also working with the GCF, the Green Climate Fund, to provide an umbrella support for countries that could provide access to better finance some of the early warnings, the multi-hazard early warning system efforts within countries. And we're hoping that will go, this initial concept will go to the Green Climate Fund board later this, I think next month, and really looking forward to having additional financial support for countries to implement the initiative. In terms of the Congress update, the initiative was really accorded the highest priority in the WMO strategic plan. And it set forward that Executive Council is going to oversee the progress of the initiative. It did call on the technical commissions to really identify high priority activities to address the urgent needs of members in building effective multi-hazard early warning systems, obviously looking within the respective terms of reference within the technical commissions, and looking at the technical commissions to really incorporate the different activities for the initiative within their respective work plans. Also identify, catalog, and integrate priority emerging hazards, such as those due to changes in the cryosphere. Implement priority activities in collaborative, coordinated, and synergistic manner, and also to regularly report progress to the EC for guidance. In terms of INFCOM, the management group actually back in March approved 2 new task teams, and I'll ask Natalia to speak a little bit more towards the recent activities in the task teams. But there was a task team on early warnings for all, and the terms of reference for this are really to review the range of hazards across the value chain and relevant domains, and assess for each category of hazard where the gaps in the global frameworks for observation and prediction data, to really provide the underpinning early warning service delivery, and look at and map the existing initiatives that are seeking to address the gaps, and see how we can actually scale up progress through those existing initiatives. They're also looking, this task team is looking or tasked to develop an early warnings for all action plan for the Infrastructure Commission, and looking at what activities are needed to accelerate and possibly be expanded, and what additional activities should be recommended, and what aspects require coordination with SERCOM, the Standing Committee on DRR, and the expert team on early warnings for all. And also report back the initial findings at the management group meeting in the fall of this year. And I'm not going to go into too much detail on this one, but there is another task team that may be relevant. Just the task team on the implementation of products from non-traditional sources and the GDPFS, I guess now WIPS terms of reference, looking more at flood products. So maybe I'll pause there and see if Natalia would like to come in and offer any specific connections in terms of the this particular group and work program that could feed into to the commission, the INFCOM. Natalia, would you like to come in, or do you want me to? Was
Yes.
that good enough?
Thank you so much, Erica, for this comprehensive presentation, and I think it covers it from all angles. But what I want to share is actually the idea from the Infrastructure Commission to break it down, what is needed, into several work packages. And I also want to mention, you already kind of alluded to that, there were priority hazards identified, and I want to mention them here. So those are heat waves, floods, tropical cyclones, drought, and other priority hazards identified by the nations and regionally. So that is a hazards that we will be looking at, but we will be looking at from the product and application perspective, and that obviously includes nowcasting. So what we will do, we sort of have an idea what space agency is doing in terms of products, applications, and what is being distributed. However, we want to have a data call for them and have a catalog of what is out there related to those hazards, and it could be multiple products and applications, and you're aware specifically, for different regions, and obviously specifically for those hazards that I mentioned earlier. So what we're going to do, we'll have a data call and see what's out there, and it could be as simple as a spreadsheet, or it could be, I don't want to do another survey, but the bottom line, we will have a catalog of applications and products related to those hazards, divided sort of by regional response and response from the space agencies. What's important to note here is that we also want to have input from users like you on other applications that might be recommended for use. And some of those are rapid scans and requests for rapid scans in case of the tropical storms approaching and things like that. But also, things like that go through disaster charter. There are certain products that go through that. Recall in GeoNetcast America, if you recall, there is a channel related to disaster support. However, we tested it but never implemented that. So things like that, that we can utilize in the future, and we know it's out there but maybe not being used and things like that. So from the space perspective, we need to catalog applications and products, what's out there, and that would be a start from us. The other work package include NWP products, but it's not going to be in the first phase of this. Another thing would be related to surface-based observation. But I wanted to highlight what space is going to do for this, because obviously there's a lot of products that related to hazards and disasters and things like that. What we're not going to do from the space perspective is the warning dissemination. However, I want to be we will be working with WIS2 department that is working on dissemination. So I don't want to, duplicate efforts, but basically we would consider dissemination methods, and that probably will include some of the ideas on GeoNetcast America. So that is a sort of quick overview. We will work this summer, because obviously we have really short timeline before this fall to provide updates. But as you know, several space agencies already have a lot of products. We just need to know what's out there and have a catalog of that. So I'm open for comments now, and I hope it's sort of, this is a high-level initiative that was given a green light in Congress, and now we're actually looking at the technical implementation phase, looking what's out there, and talking to our stakeholders. So thanks.
Great, thank you. So I have a few more slides that might also be helpful if you want to just bear with me for a few moments. Just in terms of the rollout of activities in these 30 countries. So the approach that we've been taking so far is to support the UN resident coordinator in bringing together, the Met Service, the NDMOs in the country, in a multi-stakeholder consultation workshop to, discuss the initiative. But what we're finding is that there's already a lot going on in countries. So making sure that, a workshop is actually needed and there's not already an existing mechanism for these activities that would be duplicated, because that's certainly not what we want to do. But if colleagues are wanting, or the country's wanting to have a consultation workshop, we're supporting that. And we're really looking to foster connections between the different pillars and the different UN agencies, and strengthening coordination, both at regional and national level within the mandates, focusing on, the national, the countries actually have the mandate for issuing alerts. And so looking at strengthening the coordination, and then identification of immediate technical support requirements, developing a roadmap if that's needed, and then building capacity as requested. And then having a common monitoring framework that's country-led and defined, and then having alignment across the pillars. What I'm happy to do, we have a toolkit that's going to countries in case they would like to have support. We've recently translated this into all of the UN languages. I'm happy to send this to you in Spanish, so you can be aware. I believe there's going to be a workshop being held soon in Barbados, but I need to follow up on that to check. But what's in the toolkit is essentially the recommended steps for country rollout, a checklist in terms of gap analysis, stakeholder mapping, and then if there's not already an existing coordination mechanism at the national level, what the terms of reference and the composition of that task team would look like. And then the proposed responsibilities for the UN focal point, this being the resident coordinator, and then concrete like basically in a concept note for the inception workshop if they would like to hold that. In terms of the workshops that have already been held, we recently had one in Bishoftu, Ethiopia, earlier this. Well, I guess now we're now in July, but it was last month in June. There's going to be a meeting held in Tonga, and then Pacific Met Council in August, and upcoming workshops in these countries. And that's all I have. But I'm happy to take any questions that you might have, or you might have for Natalia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Erica and Nat, for this enlightening presentation. We understand that the SDR group should play a key role in the regional implementation of this initiative. As we understand, satellite data is really crucial. And I have a question. What could be, in your opinion, Nat and Erica, or the other members from the group, the biggest contribution in short term from a regional community like the SDR community to this initiative? We understand that our activities should be aligned to achieve the early warnings for all goals, and they should be coordinated in line with the 4 key pillars. But maybe we could discuss in the near future some more practical aspects or practical examples. Nat mentioned that our input, for example, regarding applications would be recommended, and that's good. And another detail is that in these slides, we have seen that we have major gaps, especially in developing countries, that we should identify high priority activities to address urgent needs of the members. So one question would be, I don't remember if you already mentioned that, but do you already have some kind of mapping of which countries in our region would be the priority, or should we work as a group to identify these priorities in terms of which members we should be reaching first? Do you have any comments on that?
I think so. Maybe what I'll do is in my presentation, there's 30 initial countries that were announced by the UNSG, and I'm happy to just pop the countries from your region in the chat. And I think what would be really helpful is maybe with Natalia's help, just identifying what would be the best contribution, as you indicated, around the initiative. As Natalia mentioned, we're really looking at like a hazard-specific, taking a hazard-specific approach, also multi-sector approach, realizing that a lot of the, extreme events are hydrometeorological in nature, and these are causing major shocks in economies. So looking at, maybe I'll just hand it over to Nat and see if she has anything specific at the moment.
So, thank you, Erica. Yes, please drop those countries in the chat because I don't have a list in front of me, so that would be good. So there are different moving things here, right? So the countries, 30 countries, and of course the countries from RA-III and IV in that list. And there's applications, the hazards. So the multiple things that need to cross and come with some, consensus. And what we're gonna do, we know we have, every space agency, and I'm talking obviously about NOAA here, right? So Marianne, and jump in, please, because NOAA covers a lot of applications and products for the region. So there are a lot of applications related to those hazards. We just need to identify that and make a catalog of that. And then, add additional things specific to certain countries as sort of recommendations. And I think it's what, I know there are a lot of things related to nowcasting. So that is probably will go there too. And now I know you do a lot of visualization tools that's specific to this group and like certain small networking groups. That would be nice to know. But basic idea and the goal initially would be to understand what is out there. I think we have an idea, but it has not been Like we didn't have a call for that, and you know, it would be nice to get that. So that would be first thing. And next, after that, we will look into some recommendations. We will look into the hazards, and that would be the start. I think from the space perspective, and again, remember, WMO is responsible for Pillar 2, which is observations. Of course, as Erica said, we will coordinate with other stakeholders and other pillars. So it will be, I'm not saying it's hard, but it would be complex in some ways. So we need to be proactive. So I'm literally looking forward working with you guys, because you know about those tools, you know about those applications, and you use them every day. You know, we just need to identify them, and that's what we're gonna do. So.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Do we have any other questions or comments before our next presentation? Anyone?
Yes, this is John Cornicelli from NOAA.
Okay. Hi, John. Go ahead.
Hi, Erica. I'd like to actually get your contact information and coordinate with you on this, because our GNCA broadcast can reach a lot of the remote areas that probably need a lot of these warnings and advisories, and anything that any of the countries mentioned to you that need something, we can add it to the broadcast, because these are typically low bandwidth items to begin with. So yeah, let's coordinate on that.
Great, thank you very much. I'll put that in. I'm happy to put my contact details in the chat, and I'll be working closely with Natalia on this.
Yeah, please CC me on that. I think I have.
Yeah, especially since you did that before.
Okay. If you do not have any other comments, let's move on to our next presentation on the WMO position on the World Radiocommunication Conference 2023, presented by our colleague and SDR, our colleague Alec Casey from Environment Canada.
Thanks,
we are
Diego.
already seeing your screen.
You see the
Go
screen?
ahead, Alec.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. And you can hear me okay?
Yes, perfectly.
Excellent. Thanks, Diego. So yeah, my name's Alec Casey. I'm a member of the WMO expert team on radio frequency coordination, and I'll be talking today about the WMO position statement on the World Radiocommunication Conference agenda. And this position statement was approved by Congress earlier this year. So before, I've got a lot of content on my slides, so I want to make sure everyone knows up front. I will be giving a copy to Diego. It will be on the website, so don't worry about trying to take detailed notes. There's a lot of content to get through, and I'll do my best to stick to my 15 minutes. So I'm sure, I expect everyone in this group is aware of how important radio frequency spectrum is for meteorological services and hydrological services, particularly from the satellite perspective. We rely on access to radio spectrum to transmit TT&C commands to satellites, to downlink data from satellites, and also for radars and passive microwave satellites to acquire observations. In the context of spectrum management, passive microwave satellites play a key role in our observations of the atmosphere, but have a unique role in spectrum management because they're very sensitive to interference. And the reason spectrum management processes exist is to try to manage the shared use of radio frequency spectrum between both commercial and science needs, as well as between commercial needs and other uses of the radio spectrum. But that spectrum is a physically limited and increasingly contested resource. So increasing demand on radio frequency spectrum is posing both risks and opportunities for meteorological services in the WMO. So the point of the talk today is to ensure that the members of SDR are aware of the regulatory process associated with spectrum management and some of the issues that could be coming up later this year at WRC 23. So for those who aren't familiar, at the international level, the radio spectrum is managed by the International Telecommunications Union, specifically its radio communication sector, which is, ITU is a specialized agency of the UN, just like WMO is. And the work at ITUR is predominantly done in a 4-year cycle, the World Radiocommunication Conference, or WRC cycle, which every 4 years results in amendments to the international radio regulations. So at a WRC, administrations or countries will make spectrum requests trying to get access to new spectrum for radio communication services, whether that's Earth observation satellites or cellular telephones and 5G systems. The ITU study groups will carry out compatibility studies and sharing studies. There will be a long process of stakeholder consultation at national, regional, and international levels, and a year before a WRC regulatory solutions are proposed and considered at what's called the conference preparatory meeting. And then again, the stakeholder consultation process happens, and at the WRC, consensus is achieved to implement regulatory changes. So this happens on a 4-year cycle in the ITU, and there are similar processes at the domestic level around the world, because individual countries have the right to manage spectrum within their own country according to their national spectrum policies and regulation. So I've alluded to it on the past slide, but to lay it out in a different framework here, the process of radio frequency coordination really involves a hierarchy of regulatory bodies. Each country will have a National Radiocommunication Administration. In the Canadian context, that's a government department called Innovation, Science and Economic Development Canada, and they're responsible for the Canadian Table of Frequency Allocations, just as the ITU is responsible for the Table of Frequency Allocations at the international level. So stakeholders, whether those be government users, industry like commercial cell service providers or fixed satellite service providers, as well as academia and even the public, can play a role in this system. The radio amateurs around the world are involved in this work as well. So those various stakeholder groups will feed input into their National Radiocommunication Administration, who will present national positions to their regional telecommunication body for RA-III and IV. That's is CTEL, the Inter-American Telecommunications Commission. And either directly through national inputs or through CTEL, we can feed inputs into the ITUR process, resulting in updates to the radio regulations, or the Red Book, as shown here on the top slide, which is updated every 4 years. And the next WRC is this November, December in Dubai later this year. Okay, so getting to the position paper. The purpose of the WMO position paper, which again was drafted by the expert team on radio frequency coordination and adopted as an annex to Resolution 33, which was approved at Congress 19. The purpose of this paper is to provide information to assist national meteorological and hydrological services in coordinating with their National Radiocommunication Administration, so that the importance of these issues for meteorological and hydrological services is understood and considered at the deliberations at WRC 23. So now I'm going to, over the next couple slides, talk about a couple key agenda items on the WRC agenda, and talk about potential risks and opportunities that those pose for the WMO and its member states. And then we'll come to some conclusions and next steps. So agenda item 1.2 is an agenda item promoted by the cellular telecommunications industry, looking for new allocations and access to frequency new identifications and access to frequency in the 6 and 7 gigahertz range for what the ITU calls international mobile telecommunications, or on a day-to-day basis, we would essentially refer to this as 5G. Those frequency bands are currently used by passive microwave sensors, which operate in the Earth exploration satellite passive service in the ITU context. We acquire measurements of sea surface temperature in that same frequency range. And ITUR studies that have been done over the last 4 years have shown that IMT or 5G systems, if ubiquitously deployed, would cause significant exceedance of the protection criteria for passive sensors, and could degrade sea surface temperature measurements even to 2,000 kilometers from the coast. But certainly in coastal regions, they would be severely degraded if IMT systems were deployed, were allowed to be deployed in these ranges and deployed ubiquitously. This agenda item is a concern for the WMO because the passive sensors operate under a footnote in the table of radio frequency allocations, which doesn't actually provide an allocation to the Earth exploration passive service. So the protection of these sensors was considered out of scope within the context of the ITUR. So this poses a risk to our continuity of sea surface temperature measurements, and the WMO is proposing that we consider new primary allocations to this radiocommunications service. So passive measurements could be carried out and be protected in the 4 and 8 gigahertz ranges, which are slightly less sensitive to sea surface temperature, but could complement the foreseen degraded sea surface temperature measurements from 6-7 gigahertz systems. So the WMO is working on the WMO expert team is working on a formal contribution to WRC to propose these allocations. And the purpose of me sharing this information today is for anyone who is able to, and this applies for all the agenda items, for anyone who's able to participate in their national radio communication spectrum management processes. We're looking for greater support around the world to ensure that administrations coming to the WRC are aware of this issue and would support discussions and the proposed new allocations to ensure the continuity of sea surface temperature measurements. The next agenda item I'll talk about is the recognition of space weather systems. So currently, the radio regulations have no regulatory protection or acknowledgement of space weather observations and instruments. So in this context, this agenda item is looking at trying to define recognition and protection for these sensors. So the WMO has proposed a two-step approach for this, this agenda item, which would be at WRC, we're seeking to insert into the radio regulations a definition for what space weather is in the context of the ITUR, as well as provide a provision in Article 4 of the radio regulations that would allow space weather sensors to operate under a new subset of the Meteorological Aids Radio Communication Service, which we would refer to as Meteorological Aids Space Weather. As part of this work, we'd also look to get on the agenda for WRC 27, a new agenda item that would seek to create allocations for the Meteorological Aids Space Weather Service in order to provide protection for space weather systems moving forward. So again, the WMO is preparing a contribution on this front. While that is particularly targeted at ground-based measurement systems that utilize radio spectrum for space weather observations, we know that those systems are very important for satellites as well, and understanding the space weather environment and protection of satellite assets. So I think that that's relevant for this group as well. The next agenda item I'm going to talk about is agenda item 114, and this is an agenda item that promotes an opportunity for the satellite community, looking at securing spectrum to be used for carrying out measurements of ice clouds. Ice clouds cover a significant portion of the Earth's surface and are an important gap in our observations of the atmosphere right now. So allocations for the Earth Exploration Satellite Service, the Passive Exploration Satellite Service, were created about 20 years ago in the 230 to 250 gigahertz range. But those allocations created 20 years ago don't align with the current design specifications for EUMETSAT's Ice Cloud Imager instrument and possible future additional ice cloud imaging sensors. So what the WMO would like to see happen at WRC 23 is we would like to create new primary allocations for the Earth Exploration Satellite Service in the specific frequency bands used that will be used by the Ice Cloud Imager. But to do this, we need to move existing service allocations to the fixed and mobile services because they aren't compatible with passive microwave systems. In other words, they would cause interference to the Ice Cloud Imager. So we are proposing a shift in those allocations, which are currently unused, to an immediately adjacent lower band where limb sounding sensors operate, but limb sounding sensors are far less susceptible to interference and could exist in the same spectrum as fixed and mobile terrestrial services. So that's an opportunity for us to secure protection for next generation instruments. I have two more agenda items to get through. I think I'm doing okay on time. And then a couple quick slides to wrap things up. So the next two issues I want to talk about are agenda item 4, which is a standing agenda item on the WRC agendas. And this is an open-ended agenda item to review existing ITUR resolutions and recommendations to determine if revisions or replacement or abrogation are needed. So there's one specific resolution that exists that was created at WRC 19 that is a concern for WMO, and that's resolution 731, which is to look at sharing and compatibility between passive and active services above 71 gigahertz. So there are quite a few passive bands for passive microwave satellites above 71 gigahertz that we use for atmospheric monitoring measurements. And in the invites of resolution 731 in the ITUR, the list of bands to be considered under that resolution includes bands where a footnote in the radio regulations, footnote 5340, is present. And that footnote specifies that emissions are prohibited in those frequency bands. Otherwise, or in other words, active services are not allowed to operate in those bands. So the WMO is proposing that we revise this resolution to clarify that of the bands listed, some of them need to be removed because Radio Regulation 5340 applies there, and we have existing passive services that need protection in those bands. So as with all the other ones, again, the point of the presentation today is to make you aware of these issues, and if you can participate in your domestic processes, National Communication Administration to try to get their support for the WMO positions. The last agenda item I'll talk about is another standing agenda item called Agenda Item 10, and this is the agenda item that establishes the agenda for the subsequent WRC and the preliminary agenda for the next WRC after that. So at WRC 23, work will be done to finalize the agenda for the 2027 WRC. And in the WMO position paper, which is an annex to WMO Resolution 33, there's a bunch of detail on potential agenda items and the WMO positions on those. I won't go into details on them today, but just to also highlight that individual countries and their radio communication administrations, as well as the regional telecommunications group, will also have the opportunity to propose additional potential agenda items for WRC 27 and the subsequent WRC 31. So this is an important one for the WMO to be active on at WRC to ensure future conferences we minimize any agenda items that pose a risk to our services. I'm getting short on time, so I'm going to go through this quickly. I strongly recommend everyone take a look at Resolution 33, which elaborates on the importance of radio frequency spectrum for the WMO and its member states. And what I want to highlight here is that that resolution does contain a paragraph that urges all members to promote the WMO positions on the relevant WRC 23 agenda items to ensure that we continue having a protection and access to radio frequency bands required for meteorological and environmental operations and research, especially for satellite systems. Of course, this applies to many ground systems as well, such as weather radars and other systems for relaying remote in situ data, etc. So to conclude, I've only shown a highlight of a subset of agenda items that are listed in the WMO position paper. So please, if you're interested, take a look at the annex to Resolution 33, read through that to understand these issues. Resolution 33 does urge us to take action to promote these positions within our domestic spectrum management processes. And so I'd strongly encourage anyone who's interested in these issues to share the WMO position paper with your National Radiocommunication Administration. I believe an action went out to all PRs on this already following the 19th Congress. And we'd love to see more meteorological experts involved in the spectrum management process, both at national, regional, and international levels. And one last call to action is to ensure that all of your radio communication stations, even if they're receive only, we strongly encourage you to have them registered with your radio communication regulator so they have those systems in their database. You would be offered protection, and it would also make them aware of the services that we use. This is my last slide. Anyone who's interested in learning more about the radio frequency coordination and spectrum management processes, there's a bunch of links here on the slide that you can check out on your own time. If you have questions about the WMO position paper, the annex to Resolution 33, please feel free to reach out to myself and Eric Allis, the chair of the expert team on radio frequency coordination, and we're happy to have a chat with you or provide clarification. And if you're interested in becoming more involved in radio frequency matters, please reach out to the WMO Secretariat, and they can ensure that you're informed of future issues that are raised by ET-RFC. And with that, I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you.
Sorry for the
Alec.
rapid pace of that presentation, but trying to get us, keep us on track.
No problem. No problem. Thank you very much, Alec, for your presentation. And my question would be the same. What would be the greatest contribution from the SDR members in a short term? And you have mentioned that in your last slide.
Yeah.
And I understand that, as you mentioned, would be a good contribution from members would be a close coordination with the members, National Radio Communication Administration, so our community is clearly heard, right? And one of the problems I see is that most of us are not aware of how this communication between our services and these authorities could be done in order to promote the WMO positions. At least here in Brazil, I have a vague idea, but we should work on that with our PRs, right?
Yeah, that's I would say. So I started this job. I started working for the Meteorological Service of Canada just almost 5 years ago now, and came into the job knowing nothing whatsoever about spectrum management. It is a very steep learning curve, especially on the ITU and CTEL side of things. But hopefully, I would really hope that your radiocommunication administrations will be as helpful as mine was in Canada to help me get me up to speed to understanding how the consultation and technical input and policy inputs work within your own country. But really, yes, you're right, Diego. The first step is making sure meteorological services know who the Radiocommunication Administration are, build some contacts there, reach out to them to explain that we have significant dependencies on radio frequency spectrum for radar and passive microwave observations, for telecommunications links to and from satellites, for relaying data from remote in situ environmental monitoring sites and hydrological sites like the GOES DCS or even cellular communications to relay data from remote stations, giving them a big picture view of we're really dependent on RF, and please be consulting us when there are issues that could pose a risk to meteorological services. It took a lot of work on the Canadian side for me to try to build up an understanding with our regulators so that they really understood what it is what we do with radar data. And I expect for many people on the call here, a major challenge will be in the US, where NOAA operates all these satellites that the rest of us depend on. They have a very strong tie to their radio communication regulator because they have licenses for those satellites and have to go through the filing process. For all of us that are just recipients of the data, my administration wasn't aware that we used data from foreign satellites. So trying to make them aware of that and realize that issues that the US or ESA or EUMETSAT think are big issues are issues to us as well. So trying to share that message and just raise awareness on radio frequency dependencies for meteorological and hydrological aspects. If you can get to that point before November, December, then you can share, sharing the WMO position paper up front would certainly be greatly appreciated, so that more administrations are aware around the WRC table. But it is a slow process that takes time and effort to build up those relationships.
Thank you, Alec. And about registering the ground stations, as you mentioned, that's really important. When 5G started here in our region in Brazil, some GeoNetcast stations suffered huge interference, and the regulatory agencies, they were providing 5G filters for free, but users needed to have their ground stations registered. Before. And most were not registered. So now they need to buy these filters, and they are really expensive. So yeah, that's another important
protection
aspect.
At the ITU level and at the national level, you need the allocations to provide you with protection, but you also need your systems licensed under that allocation, and it's on a first come, first served basis. So yes, it's very important to ensure you have licenses for receive-only stations. We've just gone through an issue with radio frequency interference on our GOES GRB reception station in Canada. It was a very weird mix of a bunch of unlikely things happening. It's not a widespread issue. It was just at one of our stations, but we were able to get a lot of support from ICED Canada to solve that problem because we have our stations licensed. If they weren't licensed, we would have been left to our own devices to try to resolve that. So it is a very important step.
Yeah, so that's a recommendation. License your ground stations as soon as possible. Do you have any other comments or questions? Okay. Hola, Marcelo.
I just wanted to ask Alec. When we see all these frequency bands and the spectrum and everything, it's sometimes it's way too much information. So I was wondering if there's like a visual way of looking at meteorological usage of the spectrum and then other uses of the spectrum and where they're overlapping or something like
that. So there's in the radio regulations, there is the table of frequency allocations, but it is like hundreds of pages. It is a very steep learning curve to get into this. But maybe I'll say this out loud for Eric's benefit. Maybe that's something that we should think about within the expert team is, should we be maintaining some kind of summary of all of the meteorologically relevant allocations? I know that that's not an easy process and requires constant updating, but is there some way we can try to provide kind of an introductory package to users that don't have spectrum management expertise? Something we can think about. I'm not aware of, and Eric, feel free to chime in if you're aware of any useful resource. I'll put in the chat in a few minutes when I can dig it up, a former ITU news article or news magazine edition that had a bunch of articles about leading up to WRC-19 about meteorological and climate related frequencies. So that can give a bit more background and some nice graphics, but not a comprehensive overview. But I'll share that with everyone.
It's just because, you know, if we have to talk to our PRs or med services, it's way easier to present something that is comprehensible, you know, like easily comprehensible. Like if we hand over the documents, it's gonna take many months or longer to analyze that. If there's an easier way, it would definitely contribute towards the goal. Also, if you're saying, you know, it's this radio sounds here that are getting interfered, is this satellite communication here that's getting interfered, that's a different thing.
So the WMO position paper does identify these specific frequency bands that are either opportunities or at risk at WRC-23. But there's quite a few agenda items. I presented on 4 or 5 here today, but I think there's close to 20 in the position paper. So it is a large undertaking. And I see Eric has I think it was Eric that had his hand up, so I'll let Eric chime in.
Oh, yes, thank you. Just to provide information, one very important document is the handbook, which was mentioned. You have a link on the Alec presentation. It's very important because it's really in that document that you can find all the usage per service and per band, per frequency band. So that's first. It's the first step to really see an overview of all the frequency band used by the WMO community, I could say. And then secondly, as mentioned by Alec, I think we have to work maybe in ET-RFC to try to provide a link between this handbook and the radio regulation, and in particular the Article 5, where we have this table of all the sharing frequency bands. And just want to mention to everyone that this handbook, we plan to update this handbook, and it will begin at the end of this year in October at the next study group meeting, which is responsible of these scientific services. So I think we will communicate to everyone in all the people who are ready to be more informed or involved in this spectrum issue. We will be pleased to share this information and to ask for more information in order to be sure that this future version of the handbook will be as complete as possible. Just for your information. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric, Alec, and Marcial for your comments. And Zoya just sharing in the chat box the reference document from ITU called Use of Radio Spectrum for Meteorology for your future reference. Do we have any other comments or questions? Okay, if not,
and
let's
the WMO
and
the WMO position statement in all UN languages, we also shared via chat the link to this statement so that everyone can read it in Spanish. Well, we don't have it unfortunately in Portuguese, but in Spanish, in English, yeah, we do have it.
Thank you, Zoya. And all these links will be available in the minutes of meeting that will be shared soon with the group. Okay. Okay, let's move on. Our next topic is the Latin America Meteorological Satellite. Invitation to the hybrid workshop and a reminder about our quick survey. In our previous meetings, it was mentioned that among the priorities established by RA-III are the studies and evaluations for the development of a geosatellite for Latin America, in order to respond to specific needs of our members. And it was also mentioned that virtual meetings were being planned to discuss the feasibility of this project. And we have some updates. Since our last SDR teleconference, 3 or 4 virtual meetings happened between the WMO Regional Office for the Americas and regional space agencies like NPAY from Brazil and CONAI from Argentina, and also with the Argentinian National Weather Service and the SDR focal points to discuss the next steps. And one of the outcomes of these meetings is the organization of a hybrid workshop, which will happen next week on July 12 and 13 between 12 and 20 UTC. And we would like to invite the SDR members to join us in this hybrid workshop, especially the sessions in the morning, where we will discuss some technical aspects like the regional requirements for this mission, regional technical capacity mapping, how each country may contribute to this project, and your participation is really important. So you have up-to-date information on the progress, and we will share soon the link for you to join the sessions in the morning. And in the afternoon, we will work on the preparation of the terms of reference of the executive project, okay? And also one of the goals of this initiative is identifying the key gaps, right, in current systems from the regional users' perspectives. Because this possible future mission would be in some way complementary to the existing ones, and your feedback is really important. We have collected plenty of material in the past years to help to identify these needs, but we would like to hear updated feedback from the community. So we have created this quick survey with a single open question, right? If there was a new geo satellite for the Americas, what do you think it should include? And your answer can include any aspect related to the satellite, such as instruments, sensors, channels, spatial and temporal resolutions, products, dissemination, training, and so on. And this quick survey is available in English, Spanish, and Portuguese, and we have received until now more than 30 answers. So please, if you haven't answered it yet, please access the link and provide your feedback. It's only a single question, and it shouldn't take much time. So and our next topic is the data requirements and updates from members. And in this session, we would like to review some of the requirements as reported by the SDR group. And here we have a summary of data requirements as reported by members during our last face-to-face meeting in August. And we keep working with the regional data providers to get a response to these requests. And most of these requirements in this slide are those listed in green are related to GeoNetcast Americas, and these requests are being considered by NOAA. And as we know, that the bandwidth of the system should be handled very carefully. So these additions are being studied. And today we have with us our colleague John Cornicelli, the GeoNetcast Americas program manager. So let's invite him to give us an update on this analysis. John, do you have anything to report?
Yes, we have some good news from the GeoNetcast program. Why isn't this working here? Hang on a second. We have finished all of our server and datacast server, our database server upgrades. We had to replace many hard drives with solid state hard drives, update the cybersecurity, the firewalls, and now we're ready to do some real customer service. So the next step is we've already gotten feedback over the last 6 months or so of new products that the customers want. And now we're setting up a system where we can more quickly update the product lists, get the products on the broadcast quickly. Along with that, we've actually figured out ways to real-time manage our bandwidth, so we can compare very quickly. It'll take us basically 24 hours to watch the impact of adding products to our bandwidth, adding products to our broadcast to manage the bandwidth. So we'll be able to basically serve the customer a little bit more quickly. And so it's those particular products that you're looking at there, the cloud particle ones, the aerosols, the GOES products, those are the ones that eat up a little bit more in the way of bandwidth. So we'll keep an eye on it. But it looks like we may have enough to play with. Erica earlier brought up something when we were talking about the warnings and advisories. That's an area where we can add products and they're a very low bandwidth. So we're looking forward to doing both of those things. So you'll be seeing some changes pretty quickly, especially with those new products being added to the broadcast. Do you have any questions? I see a lot of those requests came from Peru itself, right?
Yeah, and
Good.
yes, most of them. We have Jorge Chira from Peru, and Jorge, our presenter during the last conference was João Huaman, and he presented these requirements from Senami that the reception of these products in a higher frequency would be highly desirable. So we are happy that NOAA is considering that. Yes, Jorge Chira.
Jorge, can you link your contact information?
Jorge had to leave the meeting some minutes ago, unfortunately, but I will send his email and I will share his email with you right after the meeting so we can keep coordinating that, okay?
Something else, Diego, I'd like to talk to you offline is maybe, I notice we have that on the GeoNetcast website, we have that pretty much unused discussion forum. I'd like to bring that back to life and use that so that customers can more quickly discuss what products they'd like, especially what products they don't use, because part of managing bandwidth is removing products that nobody's looking at. Right?
Okay, let's discuss that and how we can make that form or future form known by the community so they can, so this process is easier for them requesting products. Okay.
Right.
Thank
you.
you.
A particular question. I don't want to interrupt like this, but just asking a question like this. But if any of the Argentinian representatives on here know of a new POC for the products that we used to receive from Argentina, I'd like to coordinate with that person too. My contact list needs to be updated.
You mean the from CONAI, the data provider or user?
The providers.
Oh, the providers. Yes, it's CONAI. And during those discussions regarding the Latin America meteorological satellites, we have some new contacts from CONAI. So I will talk with them and ask who would be the best point of contact for these coordinations. Right. Okay.
I saw the products that we used to get, and those are very good products.
Okay. Okay. Let's coordinate that. Any other comment regarding these products? And thank you very much, John, for this update. Great news, and we really appreciate the great support from NOAA to the international community as always. We have some other requests that we are still working on that as a group. And regarding these requests here in blue from our colleagues from Venezuela, we have recently shared with Julio Cabaneri from INAME, the SDR point of contact, some information that they have requested regarding possible ways to reactivate the ABI data reception in near real time. And we have shared some information on vendors, turnkey solutions, or and other options. And talking about Sargassum, there was a request by our colleagues from Cayman Islands during our 5th meeting. And we have seen in our last teleconference that our colleagues from Mexico would be able to provide that information. And last week, our colleagues from LANUT reported that they are working on some storage issues, and they will check when they would be able to update the Sargassum products for the Caribbean sector. And I think we still have with us our colleague Gabby Gomez from LANUT. And let's check if they have any updates. Gabby, are you there? Still there? Do you have any updates on that?
Well, right now, it's on vacation, so there's nothing new. The problem right now is, if we want to extend the area of that we are right now monitoring, we need more capacity to store the data, because the visualization system is not only is capable of showing not only what is happening in the very recent past. I mean, it's 5 days update, but also to make search for past events. So right now we cannot provide with that capacity. We can turn on the loop again, but we won't be able to archive any data. So we can turn it on so you can see the last image and the last detection. But right now we can keep the detection because it's vector data, but we cannot keep the raster data because it's space consuming. So that's what happens right now. If they want, we can turn it on, but we have found that the cloud coverage is still a big issue detecting sargassum. So we need to work furthermore to have a more accurate product for the Caribbean, because it's the same problem in the Antilles and in Mexico and the rest of the Caribbean. So we need to work on that. We still have work to do.
Okay, thank you, Gabby, for the update. So in a summary, you can display the latest information, but you cannot provide the archive, right?
Yes.
And you will keep working on these enhancements regarding the cloud coverage and to provide a better product. So I think that we could keep discussing that and coordinating that with our colleagues from the Caribbean, right? And see what is possible.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Gabby, and Lanot for this regional collaboration. And I wonder if we have any comments from our colleagues from the Caribbean regarding this sargassum tracking.
Yes, thank you, Diego. Thank you, Gabriel. This is very good work. We very much appreciate what has been put forward and put into play here. We understand the concerns and the challenges, but we are grateful for any information that will assist us in our operations. So having the live feed will be sufficient for now until we can get to that space where we can archive. But the aim is for early warnings and to assist, when you say early warnings for all, meaning all hazards, and we see this as a hazard for us. So we'll appreciate as much as possible, as far as you can go, any information that will assist in making decisions in the region. So we're very much appreciative of this, and we thank you significantly and ask you to continue pushing on with the great work. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenneth, for your comments. So let's keep coordinating this collaboration. And if any other members from the group have any information from other data sources that could be used by our colleagues, just let us know. And we will discuss the suggestions, right? So thank you very much to our colleagues from Mexico and our colleagues from the Caribbean for this coordination. We also have a couple of new data requirements from SDR members. And the first one is a requirement from the Argentinian National Weather Service. And they would like to access sounding data covering the Argentinian region, but for some dates of interest. And the objective is to study the impact of real-time information for their regional data simulation. And unfortunately, for now, the data providers contacted by the group do not have this information covering Argentina for the dates of interest, and there is no information available from the Argentinian HRD stations. So we will keep working on this requirement and look for this information in the archives. And if you have any additional information that could help, please let us know. And we also have our colleague Paula with us. Paula, do you have any comments on these or any updates on these requirement?
Hi, thank you, Diego, for the for the information. Yes, this requirement is related with an action of the DBNet project, the last meeting for the coordination group. And as Diego said, this is a study of the impact of the real-time DBNet data in the regional numerical weather prediction models at SMN Argentina. So the data simulation working group has made some regional progress in studying the impact of real-time observation in the regional model, but the system that they are using needs some temperature and humidity profiles to run the ensemble forecast sensitive to observation impact. So there is interest in collaborate with the DBNet articles with some local experiments, but the problem is to find the correct data set as input to run this system. So with the help of Diego and with the data simulation working group, we have studied the data stores at NOAA and ENWETSAT, and we have selected these 3 products that you see there in the slide, on the slide. And well, as Diego said, we don't have this information in real time at this moment, and the objective is to start with the level 2 information. So if you have any suggestions to get this information, it could be valuable for us at this moment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the updates, Paula. Do we have any comments about this specific requirement, or any member from the group has an idea of where our colleagues from the SMN may access these historical data sets for their region for these specific dates? And if not, we will keep working on that. We are trying to contact our colleagues from Wisconsin and other data providers, so we should have some updates until our next teleconference.
Hi, Diego.
Hi,
Diego.
Bernie.
This is Bernie. So just for clarification from Paola, is this the DBNet coordination group through CGMS?
Yes, that's correct. This is an action for the DBNet project of WMO. Yes.
Okay. We can talk offline to see if you've contacted enough sources. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Bernie. So we have an action after the meeting. Let's keep discussing that. Thank you very much. And another new requirement is from Costa Rica, and they would like to receive or generate a regional derived motion winds product every 10 minutes for a particular study related to the Caribbean low-level jet. And the current products received by them are available every hour, and they want to access this product with a higher frequency. And recently, they have started some coordination with NPay, and our researchers at NPay are able to generate this product for a particular region with a higher frequency. So this is being coordinated between the UCR and NPay, and we should have some news soon. And that's it for the updates on data requirements for this teleconference. We still have 20 minutes. And if you have any updates or any requests, please let us know. And we have been discussing how to create a standard way to notify whenever we have a new requirement in the community. And maybe these key points provided in these couple of slides are a good starting point. And if you have any suggestions, please let us know. Marcial, do you have any comments on these requests from Costa Rica or any additional information?
Regarding this one, I think the important thing is that the Geophysical Research Center has studied the Caribbean low-level jet for many years. And now we're looking into the diurnal variation and in-depth variations, mainly for research, but there's also power generation applications planning for the Caribbean side of Costa Rica. So it's got different applications in industry and in academia. So having 10-minute data would definitely contribute towards the goal, because right now we have available the hourly data, and it's available from the Amazon Web Services, and it's also in NOAA class, but the 10-minute data is missing. That's why we're collaborating with INPE, trying to get our hands into this data from the region. This is a specific region, it's not the entire full disk. It's mainly covering Central America and the Caribbean, with a little bit of South America there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, any other comments? Okay, thank you, Marcial. And before we move to the updates on capacity building activities, do you have any updates regarding access, needs, or utilization, or anything related to the SDR issues that you would like to discuss? Any member, anyone that is here with us today, do you have any updates you would like to present or discuss before we move on? We still have some minutes if you would like to comment. Okay, if not, let's move on to the last topic. Let's see the updates on recent and upcoming regional capacity building activities that will be kindly presented by our colleague Sherrie Morris from NOAA. Go ahead, Sherrie. You may share your screen and your slides.
Hello.
Thank you.
So while I am trying to share my screen because my computer likes to come in and out on me, I'd like to introduce Steve Supersinski. He is also with the GOES-R program, or OSPO and user services. So go ahead, Steve, while I try to share my screen.
All right, thanks, Sherrie. Hopefully everybody can hear me and see me. As Sherrie said, I'm the GOES-R User Services Coordinator. I work with the OSPO User Services team, specializing in the GOES-R series satellites and products. This is my first time actually at one of these SDR meetings, so I'm happy to be here. It's been interesting to listen and just kind of watch and listen to what people are working on. So thanks for having me.
Thank you very much, Steve, and thank you very much for sharing with this week the information regarding the mesoscale domain requests. These statistics will be very useful for us. Thank you very much for the information you have provided. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And welcome to the group.
Thank you.
Okay, Sherrie, we are seeing your slides.
Okay, are you seeing them correctly?
Yes, yes.
Okay, because my monitor just darkened on me. Hi, like I said, I'm Sherrie Morris, and I work with the GOES-R Pro team. And although I work with the GOES-R Pro team, I do international training as well through WMO Region 3 and Region 4.
Sherrie,
And
your slides are not, we are not seeing them. So let's do that. I can share them here and pass the slides when you request, okay?
Yeah, it keeps, my monitor just keeps blinking black. I apologize for that.
No
Do
problem.
I need to stop sharing?
No, I'm already sharing them and I'm on the first slide. So just let me know when you need me to pass them.
Perfect. Thank you. And I apologize for that. It's still going. Hold on. I'm going to remove that monitor because it's driving me crazy. Sorry about that. As I said, I am part of the Satellite International Training Working Group as well. It's a group of folks from a couple of different agencies putting together these international workshops. And I'm going to say, go ahead to the next slide. And this is an update on the two most recent workshops. We had one in December that was in English with the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology. This is a very large group effort, although we have a couple of us that coordinate the logistics. This is a workshop that a lot of people put a lot of time and effort into. We had over 80 participants from 27 different countries, including Liberia. And one of the goals on these workshops is to make sure that we have interaction with the participants. And it was great to have folks from areas that we've not had involved in these workshops before. As we pull the agendas together, we keep in mind the priorities of the host organization. In this case, let's say pelagic sargassum monitoring was a priority for CIMH, so we included presentations from Gabby, among others, in presenting work that they're doing on sargassum monitoring. We also consider the components of the WMO's guidelines on satellite skills and knowledge for operational meteorology. This is a document that WMO presents that describes some of the skills that are used in being an operational meteorologist. So we also include end of feedback to build the different workshops, and comments are very positive. A wealth of knowledge of products and projects were presented during the workshop. It's great to hear what people would like to hear more about as well. When we build out the agenda, we have also been blessed with both having Marcial and Diego included as well. And if you click one more time, Marcial's comment that we all enjoyed immensely was that the great part about meteorology is every day we get a new case study. So part of the agenda includes daily meteorology reports, as well as case studies, looking at what has also occurred and trying to understand and predict what will happen in the future. Next slide. And that is the next workshop we had was in Spanish, and we worked with the hosts in El Salvador with MARN. This was also a 4-day workshop. We had approximately 130 to 160 attendees here. And again, in this case, we work with the priorities of MARN, and they were not interested in sargassum. However, they were more interested in red tides. So we worked to find presenters who are both Spanish speaking or English speaking, where we are blessed with having Jose Galvez and Bonnie Acosta, among others, that help us translate the presentations and present in Spanish. Again, great feedback on an excellent workshop and first-class speakers. And we really, these 4 days cover everything from volcanoes to flooding to presentations from NASA on global precipitant modeling to red tides. So we really try to span the agenda to meet a variety of different interests. The attendees are also asked to be involved in these workshops. So they often submit homework, and we provide certificates to participants that have attended at least 3/4 of the workshop. And the second page of the certificate does list the WMO satellite skills that they had obtained from attending this workshop. And next slide, please. And these are some places where mostly me will be present, and we will be presenting on some of the training that has taken place. I am going to Sweden for the UMETSAT conference in September, and we'll be presenting a poster on the NOAA satellite training, but will include a large aspect of others who have been involved in the training. We're trying to expand a little bit and presented a session at AGU in December in San Francisco in California about different ways that people are accessing and using satellite data and products in the cloud, just to understand a little bit more the different users and how they're accessing the data. So, and then Gary McWilliams, who is my counterpart at the Joint Polar Satellites Office, and I have submitted an application to AMS to present a hybrid full-day short course on January 28th on GOES-R and JPSS satellite and tools available in the cloud. This will be a hybrid event. You do not need to attend the AMSA meeting in order to attend the short course, and if this gets approved. And we will have presentations from all 3 cloud service providers and use a case study where we have someone accessing the data for both JPSS and GOES-R for a specific case study. And then we were trying to have a workshop, a NOAA WMO Region 3 Satellite Applications Workshop this November, but communication was slow. There were a lot of circumstances that we have just talked with DMH, and we are going to try to shift the November workshop to July 2024. This will be a Spanish workshop. It will be 4 days. This is just getting off the ground, so that's all I have at this moment. In addition to that, we want to have our Region 4 English workshop. We're shooting for early 2024. Conversations are just getting started on that, so there's nothing set yet. Also, we're hoping perhaps to have the Region 3 workshop in Brazil in November 2024. Again, this is just getting started. And once we have more information, we will definitely distribute that out as well. And that's it. If anyone has any questions, please let me know.
Thank you very much, Sherrie. I had the opportunity to virtually attend the RA-IV workshops, and both were great as always. Just a quick question. These RA-III workshop, DHM, could you please just confirm the country?
That is Paraguay.
Oh,
I'm
Paraguay.
sorry.
Okay.
This is with Paraguay. We originally tried to work with Uruguay, but they had for November, but they are working on a workshop internally and did not want to have 2 workshops back to back because, as everyone knows, it's very time consuming. So we were working with Paraguay for November, and it's just the communication was just too slow. And then this last call, we decided it is not worth trying to pull together this workshop on short notice. So we're shifting it to July. It works better with their fiscal year and budgets and timelines. And Jose and Bonnie and I should also be okay. We're going through the process of getting that approved. But that will be separate than what we normally try to do, which is a Region 3 and Region 4 in each calendar year. So we're just throwing one more in.
Great. And one additional comment is that the presentations and recordings from the El Salvador training is available, and we may access it in the link that I will send here in the chat window. All the presentations are there, and the content is great, and we really recommend it. And we also had a presentation with updated information on GeoXO. And another question, do we have a similar link for the Caribbean workshop? Do you know if the content is available somewhere?
It is on their CIMH Moodle site. So let me touch base with Rebecca and see if we can move that information off of Moodle, so we don't have Rebecca and or Kathy Ann or someone there trying to give everyone access. So I will work with them on that. I'll take that as an action item to have all of that available. And on a side note, we're trying to find a way to have a library to have all of these previous workshops at one location. We've had initial conversations with Comment on that. I don't know if we run into some 508 compliance issues, which is accessibility issues. So we're running into a little bit of that, but we're trying to find a central location where we can have all of these recordings and presentations. That is on the agenda.
That would be great, and let's hope we have the next RA-III workshop in Brazil.
University of Sao Paulo, we're hoping.
Yes, that would be great.
Diego,
okay.
CIMH got the hand raised, so.
Okay.
Kathy?
Oh, Kathy's
Hi,
on.
good morning. Hi, good morning, and
Hi,
my
Kathy.
apologies
Sorry,
for being
Kathy.
late. Yes, we can investigate what we did similar to the workshop we just did with Diego, and actually having guests guest access. So it would mean that you still have to log in with a key so that we can keep track of who is going in. But we can investigate that as well. So Sherrie, if you would send me a reminder, I'll get that looked into.
And thank you. I apologize, Kathy, and I can't see everybody. I've lost my one screen.
No. I came in late. I was in another meeting, so my apologies.
Thank you. And I thank both MARN and CIMH for the incredible work to put these workshops together. It's been great, and it's great networking too.
Thank you, Sherrie, and thank you, Kathy, and for your comments. And talking about CIMH, let's, before we finish that, we just have a couple of updates more. We've had the GeoNetcast Americas training for Eastern Caribbean states held virtually between May 3rd and May 15th in a partnership between INPE and CIMH, and this was a 6-day virtual training, 4 hours per day. And we had an average of 19 trainees from 9 organizations from 8 countries: Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados, Dominica, Grenada, St. Kitts, St. Vincent and Grenadines, St. Lucia, and Costa Rica. And we have basically covered everything related to GeoNetcast, like the equipment, installation, maintenance, disaster capabilities, community engagement, and data processing and visualization. And a nice information is that the content of this training is available on CIMH Moodle at this link here. And recently, the Moodle page for this course has been open for guest access. So you just need to create an account and you'll be able to access all the presentations and recordings. So thank you very much, Kathy and Rebecca and all the staff from CIMH. And one last update is that we also have the AmeriGeo Week 2023 in August. Marcial, do you have any comments on that?
Just that the preparation is mostly done. Applications were also carried out. There is a lot of participants, and maybe because we're pretty close to date, I'm not sure if anyone in here is already into the course, but if you have not applied, maybe there is some time to do it. There's going to be parallel events in the training in Costa Rica, and it's going to be carried out here at the university. So you're welcome to attend.
Excellent. Thank you, Marcial. And before we finish the teleconference, do you have any other business? We still have 5 minutes more. Do you have any other comments or requests or updates before we finish? Please raise your hand or send your comment in the chat box. Okay, if not, thank you everyone for your participation and for your great contributions. We really appreciate it. Muchas gracias a todos. Just a reminder that all the presentations and the minutes of meeting and the recording will be available soon in the group's webpage. Thank you very much, and let's keep interacting and working on the proposed actions until our next teleconference. Thank you very much.
Muchísimas gracias a todos por su participación. Mira, ahí está
Gracias
Sandra.
a todos.
Ahora la veo.
Un gusto de verlos. Cuídense.
Muchas gracias, Edison.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Gracias.
Un gusto. Jorge, un gusto.
Muchas gracias, Jorge.
Bye, bye.
Un gusto.